My name is Brother Rod Ramos. I'm a minister in the Church of Christ. I also serve as Dean in the New Era College of Music. I'm a composer as well as fulfilling my other duties. I started very young. My parents would often play on the piano or the organ. And the earliest thing I can remember, I was probably 4 when I would climb up on the piano bench and just kind of join them. For a long time, I really loved the works of Beethoven, Rachmaninoff, and Liszt. As far as structure and as far as directness in the way that they speak musically, I really admired. Well, the oratorio is a very, I might say, a very high and complex form of music. It's a far cry from, let's say, music that might have been performed or available in the church's beginnings. I say that we know that the church's beginnings was very humble. Perhaps the music in that region or those areas where it emerged were humble also. I mean, there wasn't a full-scale orchestra during that time. There was no symphonic choir. There was no original large-scale form of composition that was done. Of course not, the church was still beginning. But now that the church has reached not only this part of the world, but even within this part of the world, to be able to be successful over the 50 years that it's been here, and to see the growth of the church and the progress of it, for this kind of music to be performed by the brethren in the church, that's a testament to how far the church has come. So the first oratorio kind of deals with the history of the church and its emergence. It portrays through music a lot of the verses of prophecy in the Bible, and it also depicts its fulfillment later on with reference to the biblical verses and the prophecies. So the music, of course, has to reflect that, and it has to portray some of those verses. The material is religious, and that's true of all oratorios. This one deals with basically it's the story of the church, or a narrative of the events, the proclamation of the verses, and then the unfolding of the events in fulfillment of those verses. We did our very best to put everything there, and I think thus far we've succeeded. Mm-hmm. With regards to the kind of the nationalistic feeling that you mentioned, since the first oratorio in particular centered on the Far East or the Philippines in the first part, and then the rest of the world in the second, there was a feeling of kind of certain elements of the Philippines where the prophecy was fulfilled. And so even aside from music material, even the very sounds, like the instrumentation, like you mentioned, the rondalla is very, it evokes sort of that flavor that which you would find in the Philippines. And then in the second part, in terms of the harmony that's used in the style, it's kind of more in a modern style, and something that's more, more hustle and bustle. So yeah, there's kind of like a contrast between the first two movements, but not so much that they seem like different pieces. I think they naturally complement one another, and I think do a pretty fair job of portraying two sides of the coin, so to speak, as far as the Far East, where it began, and then the continuing mission, which continues until now. Very excited, and until now it's just trying to let everything sink in. When I first heard of it, I think as far as the giddiness or the excitement was first heard initially, and I remember when such an announcement or a revelation was made, I was so excited about that. But then as you continue and you realize what's involved, it becomes more tempered, because you have to really devote yourself into the preparation, the making of the music, putting together this huge ensemble, and going about how to prepare them, from the soloist down to every member of the orchestra. So there was a lot of work involved, but some of that excitement took just a little bit of a backseat. It was always there as a motivating factor, but generally it's been very busy trying to put everything together. And now that we're so close, just a few days away from the event, a lot of that excitement has come back, but taken new form, because it's actually there. It's very palpable, and to imagine how the audience will react, whereas before you weren't really sure how that was going to materialize. But now, so many elements of that plan have been fulfilled. You can see evidence of God's hand in this, and the help and the result of our devotional prayers. But everything is coming together, musically, spiritually, the brethren involved, the cooperation that can be observed. All of that is paying off little by little. That's being presented, and wherever it may be, it still has to be as perfect and as powerful as possible. We know that there's always been that feeling of happiness for all members of the church, especially when they see the church reach its various milestones. The happiness is there. The music serves in one way to bring that happiness to the front, whatever feeling they may have. Sometimes it's not readily expressed, but whenever they see something or hear something like this, it kind of serves as a way for those emotions to come to the surface, and for their faith in the process to be solidified, because they hear that here's the story of the church being portrayed through music. They know that the ups and downs are there, but to be able to feel it musically, that gives it an added dimension. We hope that they leave the Lincoln Center feeling restored, knowing that they were part of a very historic event, knowing that they will have experienced something very worthwhile in the performance, something that they can take with them after the experience. That this will be a fitting way to put an end, or to put a capstone on the many great events that have taken place in this year. Aside from the content of the oratorio and what it portrays, just the fact that there's an oratorio of this type of music, which involves a high level of performance from all the brethren involved, the sheer number of performers involved, and the fact that it's in a world-class venue, all of that, I think, speaks volumes as to the progress of the church. It shows that not only in the 100 or so years since the church's reemergence in the Philippines, but its mission, as it began here in the U.S., or as it continued in the U.S., and has been here for so long, I mean, it shows that the progress of the church really has been unstoppable.